Good day. Welcome to King Williams Everything. Today I thought we'd do some more fun guitar stuff, and we're going to do a little bit of installing. So I'm thinking what we can do is we're going to put the pickups in, and we're getting to that point where we're going to be able to play this bad boy soon. So my thought was we'll string it up and then line up the pickups and mount them. So that's kind of my thinking. So let's put some strings on. This, I think what we'll do is we'll put 2 strings on. That way we can at least line it up, get the poles of the pickups centered perfectly. So I think if you just mount them right in the middle of the holes, they're going to be off. I've seen other guitars, like the Chinese ones. People review them and the poles are way off from where the strings are at, so I want to get them lined up right in the middle. So you can see I got a string here. Jam it in the hole. Come on, baby, get in there. There we go. This is actually kind of the fun part, getting near the little details and little pieces and parts, and progress comes fast. There we go. We'll give her a little tighten. There's the first drum. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the bridge on first. That way, I think it might help align it a little bit better, because it might be off a little different than the tailpiece. Just to make sure it's centered, because you get one chance. You screwed up, you can fill the holes in, move it, but we don't want to do that. Here's the part I'm never quite certain. Do the adjustment screws face the neck or face the tail? I've seen guitars that have gone either way. It probably doesn't matter. I was thinking face it towards the neck, because it probably, if you want to set the intonation, it's probably a little easier to get a screwdriver in from the neck side to just the little saddles. So I don't know. But if anybody's done this before, let me know. If you see me doing something quite wrong, I'm sure you'll put a little comment down there, and that's fine, because I like criticism to a point. Don't be a jerk. But so, like I said, my thinking was we would at least put 2 strings on, and that should get it lined up. And I don't really have it the height adjuster or anything like that. I think until we get it everything together, we could do all the adjusting. But for now, we just want to get 2 strings on, and we'll start mounting the see, I'm having some problems. I think I'm going to raise it up a little bit, because it's very low and just kind of touching. It was touching the fretboard, so. And I had them all the way cranked down, so. And one thing I did notice, these were rather tight. I mean, they were pretty good, but the other thing I did notice, you can tell it's a cheap bridge. The screws, the adjustment screws in there, that the bridge sits on, so you can raise it up and lower it and heighten it. Did I say that right? Lower, heighten and lower. There you go. Seem like the threads are kind of poorly done, so they do wobble a bit. But I think once you got tension on there, it's going to be okay. But I think if I were to make the screws for this, you want them a little bit better thread. It seems like it's just kind of really crappy thread, and there's like about a little over a 1/16 of an inch of wobble. But once you get everything secure down, it'll probably be okay. But it is a cheap guitar, so I'm sure some of the quality is lacking. You can see, here we go, we got the second string. I'll probably leave them a little loose, that way at least we can get the pickups under them. I might have to loosen a little bit. At least one of them, so we can slide the pickup under there. Kind of get it nice and centered on the strings with the pull pieces. We'll drill a couple little holes. There we go. Not too tight, because we'll never get the pickup underneath it. And we'll tighten her up a little bit more. I think this is the most fun part. It seemed like it took forever to do the finishing and the painting and staining, that kind of thing. That took so long. And I can't remember. I've been working on this project for a while, but I have been like steady. Just whenever I get a chance, I'll do a little bit of work on it. This was actually it was cool out, but good day to be in the garage. I had the heat on. That's why I don't have the live sound, because otherwise you'd hear a blasting heater in the background. That looks pretty good. There we go. Played a song for you. Let's grab a pickup. These are two different pickups. The trim rings on them are actually different heights. So there's a bridge one and a neck pickup. It's pretty easy to tell which one's taller than the other one. One thing I wish these were, they were so you can there's the bridge one, there's the neck one on the right or left, right. The guitar's kind of got a curved top a little bit, and these are just basically straight. So it seemed like when I put them in there, when you put the screws, put the screws in, it kind of warped it a little bit. It wasn't too bad, but nicer if they were curved. And so we're going to start routing the pickup wires. There's the first one. And this one actually came out really well when I drilled the holes. This one lined up really well. You'll see later on when I do the bridge one, I had just a hair of a gap between the trim ring and the actual hole from when I centered it. I mean, I could have slid it over a little bit more and covered that up, but then the pull pieces would have been just a little bit off of the strings, which definitely don't want to do that. I want to sound good, so unless you look close, you won't see it. You want to, like I say, this one turned out fine. I'm just trying to press down on the strings to see if I can get it lined up pretty close. And there I kind of drilled the holes, or I drilled the hole for that one. One thing I did do, there's lots of different screws in here, and initially, like the screw I'm putting in here was the wrong screws. They're too short. Well, they were short enough to reach in this pickup, but when I went to the back pickup, they were too short. Then I realized those were the wrong screws. But that's okay, I took them out and put the right ones in. Let's see, there's drilling the hole carefully with a small drill bit. I think the key is to take your time when you do stuff like this. I always enjoy like the fine stuff, the fine details and the pieces and parts. We'll drill the next one and that one, since we've got the first two on, so she's pretty much square. Like I said, these screws that I used here were actually they were a little too big, but they're shorter. So, and I didn't realize it really, there were no instructions or anything that came with this kit. It was just basically parts, So I was winging it. I mean, the screws look good, but the heads are a little bit bigger than what the ones I end up using. So here we're going to route that through the control cavity. Get in there, baby. There you can see the neck plate on the back. This is a bolt-on neck. So not quite the Gibson glued-on neck, but that's okay. And this actually is, compared to Gibson, it's a little thinner. So that's kind of neat. And here's the bridge pickup. Jam that in there. And you kind of can tell, even if you didn't really look at the trim rings on it, I think the bridge pickup wire was shorter, so you put it in the wrong one. I think your cable might have been a little short. And this one's a little harder to get under the strings because it's taller. Like I said, this is the one where if you center it under the strings, it was more towards the end of the hole, so it was kind of like, you couldn't really. There's like a little gap between the ring and the hole, so you're going to see, if you look on the bottom there, you can see you can see a little bit, but something we're going to have to live with. I looked online, hoping I could find maybe like some oversized trim rings, and you can find them. But I guess I'm not too worried about it. You can see this is kind of where the arch of the curve and the arch of the top of the guitar. Maybe if I would have took the trim rings, maybe just dremeled out a little bit and make it a little curved so it's more sat nice and flat. But I didn't want to change the height of it too much. And since it's kind of like a little bit of flexible plastic, it was. It worked out okay. Let's see, there's where I finally realized that those screws are the wrong screws, too short. Where they worked fine with the neck pickup, they were just a hair too short for that. So I went to Mr. Bag and found the right ones, because that was wrong. I'll tell you though, I've had a lot of fun putting this together. Initially when I bought it, I think, oh, you just like paint it, slap it all together, you're done. No, there's quite a lot to it. I think one of the next things we're going to do, we're going to straighten the neck, because it's got like quite the bow in it. And if you want to shoot arrows, it's a good neck for that. But I think we just need to loosen the truss rod, because it's, no, I think it's pull it out. I think we need to tighten the truss rod. It's got like a back bow to it. So I guess maybe when they put the truss rod in, and maybe it's loose, or not quite as tight as it should be, because it's quite the bow to it. And here I am searching for the right screws. Yeah, none of the parts were labeled. They have like all the parts in different little components in the little compartments in the bag. And there they are. I found them. A little bit smaller, but longer. That's what we wanted. And there she is. And so what I'll do, I'll go back and the neck pickup. I'm going to take the screws out, put the right screws in, because those screws went for, I can't remember what those went to. They go to something else. And I think I'm going to end up with some extra parts, because it seems like there's not that many parts to screw in after that. So what they go to, I don't know. And of course, I'm trying not to lose any screws, because they give you 8 screws. You need 8 screws, you got 8 screws. There are not 9. You drop one, I'm not going to find it. I'm trying to be really careful not to drop screws. This one I want to make sure that they're kind of square to each other, because the the bridge and the tailpiece are at an angle, so even though, you know, if you try to line them up like that, it won't work. So I figured, no, put the ruler against it. At least I'll get pretty close to being square to the neck pickup. You can kind of see like the pickup kind of lifts up. Like I said, the top's got like a slight arch to it. So I was thinking, you know, like I said, maybe I could take a Dremel and just arch a little bit of the bottom of the trim piece, but it seems like that works pretty well. Once you get the screws in, it kind of molds to the top of the guitar. You can see that was the little gap there between the trim piece and the hole for the pickup, and it's like, well, there's really no way to cover it up because it's, you know, if you did that, you moved it up the pickup a little bit up higher, then it's not going to line up with the strings. So you have to choose, do you want it to sound good or look good? Sound good, look good. I think the sound good, that's the way to go. And that's going to be the bottom of the guitar. I mean, anybody going to really see it? Unless you look at it really close, you'll say, oh, hey, there's a little gap there. But, you know, I'll tell you what, I did learn a lot. This is the first guitar that I've built, and I did realize just how much work goes into making a guitar. And like I said, this is parts, so it's not like I did, you know, cut the wood or anything, or made the neck or anything. But you know, you have to do fret leveling, neck straightening, the wiring, and actually the wiring and the soldering we're going to do in the next video. And then at least it'll be, I think we should be pretty much done, because it's just after the pickups, it's basically the control knobs, solder everything together, and I think that should be it. Give it a test. Then I think we're going to do, I might just put the components all on, all the electronics, straighten the neck, and then play it for a while. And then if I have any kind of fret buzz or anything like that, I'll probably do fret level, which I suspect you're going to have to do no matter what, because it's, you know, came from China. They pressed the frets in, and that was it. I can't imagine they did any kind of fret leveling, because it's the neck's so bowed that there's just no way they could have done it. And also the ends of the frets were here. You can see here I'm taking out the wrong screws. I'm going to put in the right screws. But the ends of the frets, there's a couple that are a little sharp, so they're not, you know, they beveled them, but they never really, you know, took some of the sharp edges off of it, so you can feel some sharp edges. So I'd like to file them down. So I think once we do the fret level, maybe we'll do a quick fret level. So I bought some of the little fret leveling. It's kind of like a flat piece of stainless steel with a slot where you put it over the fret, and you can polish it without damaging the wood. But I need to make like a fret leveling block. I'll put some really fine sandpaper on a long piece of straight aluminum or something like that, so we can at least level it. And I don't have a crowning file, but I think I have a whole pile of files that there may be one that has that kind of arc to it. I got lots of micro files, so all the other stuff's going to be pretty easy. So I'll be able to, you know, any burrs and stuff like that, any little sharp edges, I'll be able to knock them down. And I got all kinds of super fine sandpaper, so we'll be able to polish it up really good. There we go. Let's play it. Let's play it. No, we're not going to play it. Just kind of checking to make sure it is all nicely lined up. You can see the pickups they're not the right height or anything like that, and they're not really leveled or anything. But I think we did a good job. If you see there at the right hand side of the screen, there's that little, looks like a squirter bottle. That's the dye. I think it was honey amber. was the dye that I used. I should have bought a small bottle. I bought that huge bottle, and it's like you don't use much, you don't need much, and if you buy a lot, I think it was ended up being, it was the same price as a small bottle, so I bought the big one, not realizing that you don't really need a whole lot. There's the switch. I want to just stick that in just to kind of get a look at it. Or, you know, we're at the point where we can start mounting components. I'm going to put that piece in because that kind of looks cool. And I think I got the pick guard for this too. I don't know if I want to put a pick guard on it. Kind of like the look of it without a pick guard. I was always kind of leery when I saw that the trim and stuff like that had kind of that weird cream color. But now that I see it on the brown, it's like on the finish, it's like, yeah, that's okay. But yeah, like I said, it's amazing what really goes into a guitar. You think it's just take some pieces, bolt it on, you're done. No. So I'm going to be kind of curious how the fret level turns out when I do that. I've never done it before. My one friend, he just had one done. And the guy he took it to charged $100. And I know why, because it's time. It's basically you sand it, you crown it, polish it. So if you got, 1 to 2 hours into something and you got the tools, then it's definitely worth the money to have somebody that has done it before and good at it. I've never done either of those, so I think we'll be okay. And here you can see I'm kind of just fitting some of the parts. That's the little covers. I thought I might drill the holes for them, but I think I'm going to save that for the last piece. I want to see if they do fit. Probably should have done that early on. And there's the switch, and that fits pretty well. So there'll be some fitment things later on, just to get everything nice and flat. Because you want to do, even though it's the back, you still want it to look nice. But the main goal for today was get the pickups in. I would have done some more work on it, but it was kind of short on time. And this was just basically a winter project, so we're doing, I think we made some good progress. And after I did the finishing, I wanted to let it sit for a couple weeks anyway, or a few weeks at least, to make sure it gets hardened, so we're not dinging it and trying to fix it. And actually, the polyurethane they used was a water-based, which was kind of nice because you could paint, or you could spray it, and it dried, within a short period of time. Yeah, that there I was trying to see what these wires were for. Seemed like it came with some quite a few wires, different lengths, and I assume they all went to that switch because that's the only place they could possibly go. And then I think there's probably some shorter pieces for the jack. But all in all, so far so good. So as soon as we get some the knobs and electronics soldered up, I think we'll be able to give her a quick test, at least plug it in and see if she makes sounds. If we did it right, I have to download some the wiring diagram. So this was kind of a long video, but I thought it would make sense to just leave it go and not fast forward through anything, because it was a lot of little pieces and parts. You can see I'm just kind of pressing some of the frets to make sure it was, when we hit the fret, it was still lined up really well. And there are quite a lot of little parts left. Mysterious parts, some of them. I'm going to save the little extra screws that I have no idea what they go to because there's 8 of them, but I don't know what I can screw 8 things into. I think once we get the neck straightened, we'll be able to adjust all the heights and the bridge and the pickups. But until that point, she's on there, and that's the key. So anyway, that's all we really had for today. So hope you enjoyed. If you see anything I did wrong, comment below, and have a great day.